Most people believe muscle loss after 70 is inevitable, but that belief is quietly stealing your strength every single day. What I'm about to share may sound almost too simple, yet it's helped people in their 80s regain strength they thought was gone for good. Let me say this clearly because it matters. Getting weaker is not always a normal part of aging. In many cases, it's the result of missing the right signal, not a lack of effort. I've watched patients who ate healthy, followed every traditional rule, and still lost muscle year after year until one small change flipped the entire outcome. I want you to imagine waking up in the morning and feeling steadier on your feet, standing up from a chair without hesitation, carrying groceries without planning where you'll rest. These aren't fantasies. They're real outcomes I've seen when the body finally receives nutrition in a form it can actually use. This isn't about doing more. It's about doing one thing differently. Today I'm going to explain why many well-meaning habits stop working as we age, and how a simple adjustment to something you already do every morning can help protect your strength, your independence, and your confidence moving forward. Stay with me. This could change how you think about aging entirely. You know, the older we get, the more we begin to understand a quiet but profound truth. Muscle loss doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't arrive like a sharp pain that sends you rushing to the emergency room. It comes slowly, silently, much like an old house that gradually loses its support beams, until one day, standing up from a chair feels harder than it used to. My name is Dr. Thomas Reed. I'm 60 years old, and I've spent decades working with patients in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and even well into their 80s. And if there's one sentence I hear more than any other in my clinic, it's this: "Doctor, I don't understand why I'm getting weaker so fast. I still eat normally." Have you ever felt that way? You're still eating 3 meals a day. You're still having your morning coffee. And yet your body doesn't seem to cooperate the way it once did. Stairs feel heavier. Carrying groceries from the car requires a pause. And quietly in the back of your mind, a question forms. Is this just what getting older feels like? I want you to imagine this. One of my patients, Harold, was 82 years old. He'd been a carpenter his entire life. Those hands built homes, furniture, an entire livelihood. But when he came to see me, he said something I'll never forget. "Doctor, I'm still alive, but I don't feel strong anymore." Harold didn't have a major disease, no cancer, no stroke. What he had lost was muscle, slowly, steadily, over the years. And it wasn't because he was lazy. It was because his body could no longer absorb protein the way it did when he was younger. When you're 30, you eat an egg and your body handles it effortlessly. But at 70 or 80, things change. Your stomach produces less acid. Digestive enzymes decline. Teeth weaken. Chewing becomes tiring. You may eat the same foods, but your muscles receive far less nutrition. And here's something very few people ever explain to you. The problem isn't that you're eating too little protein. It's that your body can no longer extract protein efficiently from food. People are often told, "Eat eggs. Eggs are healthy." And that's true when you're young. But let's be honest with each other. At 75 or 85, standing at the stove, boiling water, peeling eggs with stiff, arthritic fingers, chewing with sensitive teeth, none of that is simple anymore. Some of my patients avoid eggs not because of cholesterol, but because chewing feels exhausting. And even if you manage to eat eggs, how many would you need? 4? 5? At every meal? That's not realistic. It's not enjoyable. And most importantly, it's not sustainable. I've seen too many older adults lose muscle not because they didn't care, but because the advice they were given no longer matched the reality of an aging body. Then something interesting began to stand out in my practice. The oldest patients, the ones who maintained strength the longest, weren't the ones with the most complicated diets. They did something remarkably simple, almost ordinary. They drank coffee every morning, but not just coffee. They added something their bodies could use immediately. No chewing, no heavy digestion, no standing at the stove, and most importantly, their muscles actually receive the protein. You see, muscle is like an old door. When it's new, a gentle push opens it. But as it ages, you need the right key at the right time, in the right way. Otherwise, the door stays shut, no matter how long you stand there. Science calls this anabolic resistance. It sounds complex, but the idea is simple. An aging body needs protein that's easier to absorb, delivered at the right moment to trigger muscle rebuilding. And the morning, after a long night of muscle breakdown just to keep you alive, is the most critical moment of all. I'm not telling you this because there's a miracle cure. There are no miracles at this stage of life, but there are smart strategies, ones that respect a body that's lived many decades. I've watched people in their 80s regain strength simply by changing how they take in protein. No extreme workouts, no eating more food, just choosing nutrition their bodies could still use. And the best part? It doesn't disrupt your life. It doesn't ask you to become someone else. It simply upgrades a habit you've already had for decades. If you're still drinking coffee every morning, you may already be holding one of the simplest tools to protect your strength, your independence, and your dignity in the years ahead. And that's what I want to share with you today. As we continue, I want to slow things down for a moment, because this is where most people misunderstand what muscle loss really is in later life. For years, we've been told a simple message: eat more protein. But in your 70s or 80s, the problem is no longer how much protein you eat. The real question is, how much of that protein actually makes it into your muscles? I've had patients tell me, "Doctor, I eat plenty, eggs, meat, chicken, every day." And I believe them. But when we look closer, their muscles are still shrinking. Why? Because digestion changes with age. Stomach acid drops. Enzymes weaken. Food moves more slowly through the gut. Protein that once built muscle now passes through only partially absorbed. You're eating protein, but your muscles aren't receiving it. That's why at this stage of life, digestibility matters more than quantity. This is where protein in powder form, especially whey isolate or hydrolyzed whey, becomes so important. These proteins are already broken down. They don't ask much of your digestive system. They slip through the barriers that age has quietly put in place. Now let's talk about eggs for a moment, because I know some of you are thinking, but eggs are the gold standard. Yes, they are, on paper. But real life isn't a nutrition textbook. Weak teeth, dentures that don't fit perfectly, dry mouth, jaw pain, arthritis in the hands while cooking and peeling. For many older adults, eggs aren't avoided because they're unhealthy, but because they're uncomfortable to eat. A dissolved protein in a warm drink removes every one of those obstacles. No chewing, no strain, no frustration. And when nutrition becomes easy, consistency finally becomes possible. Now here's something fascinating, and this surprised even me when I first saw it in my patients. Coffee, something most people already drink every morning, turns out to be more than just a habit. It's a delivery system. Caffeine doesn't just wake up your brain. It activates pathways inside muscle cells, particularly the mTOR pathway, that tell your body, now is the time to build. So when protein arrives alongside coffee, your muscles don't just receive amino acids, they receive a signal. Think of it like this: protein is the building material, but caffeine rings the doorbell. Together they make sure the message gets through. Timing matters too, especially in the morning. After 7 or 8 hours of sleep, your body has been breaking down muscle all night to survive. This is normal, but in older adults, the breakdown is stronger and the recovery is slower. That's why the first protein of the day is so critical. A protein coffee in the morning doesn't just feed your muscles, it stops the loss and flips the switch from breakdown to rebuilding. I've seen energy improve within weeks simply because the body finally received protein at the moment it needed it most. And no, it doesn't end there. One of the biggest mistakes I see is people eating most of their protein at dinner. At this age, that doesn't work well. Muscles respond better when protein is spread evenly, morning, afternoon, and sometimes evening. Even 2 protein coffees a day can dramatically change the way your body maintains muscle. It keeps amino acids circulating, reducing long stretches where muscle is quietly being broken down. Now, let me address collagen, because there's confusion here. Collagen doesn't build muscle directly. It's low in leucine, the amino acid that triggers muscle growth. But collagen does something just as important. It keeps the infrastructure healthy. Tendons, ligaments, cartilage, the connective tissue that allows muscle to move without pain. And here's the truth many don't realize. Pain stops movement, and lack of movement accelerates muscle loss. Collagen helps keep you moving comfortably, and that movement is what allows protein to do its job. Some of my older patients combine whey and collagen, and the difference in joint comfort alone keeps them active longer. Now, a quick but important detail: temperature. If your coffee is boiling hot, protein can clump. That's not dangerous, but it makes the drink unpleasant. Letting the coffee cool slightly, warm, not scalding, makes all the difference. Smooth texture matters more than people think. If something feels good to drink, you'll keep doing it. And that brings me to something deeply human: ritual. Older adults don't need more habits. They need better versions of the ones they already have. Adding protein to coffee works not because it's fancy, but because it fits seamlessly into a routine that's been there for decades. No willpower required, no motivation needed, just continuation. Now let's talk about 2 powerful additions many people overlook. Creatine is often associated with young athletes, but in older adults, it's one of the most well-researched tools we have. It improves muscle strength, balance, and even reduces fall risk. 5 grams a day, combined with protein, can make daily movements feel steadier, more controlled. And casein at night? That's protection while you sleep. It releases amino acids slowly for hours, guarding against overnight muscle loss, especially helpful if you wake up frequently during the night. Of course, none of this works in isolation. Protein needs a reason to go into muscle. That reason is movement. And movement doesn't mean a gym membership, standing up from a chair, light resistance bands, gentle effort 2 or 3 times a week. That's enough to tell your body, these muscles still matter. Finally, one word of caution from experience. Not all protein powders are equal. For older adults, quality is not optional. Look for third-party testing, simple ingredient lists, low sugar, adequate protein per serving. Your body has earned better than shortcuts. When all of this comes together, not perfectly, just consistently, something remarkable happens. Strength stabilizes, confidence returns, independence lasts longer. And that, more than anything, is what healthy aging is really about. Before we finish today, I want to leave you with one final thought. Aging is not about giving up strength. It's about protecting what you still have and making the most of it. You don't need extreme workouts. You don't need complicated diets. And you certainly don't need to chase youth. What you need is something far more realistic. Small, intelligent choices that respect the body you're living in today. If there's one thing I hope you take from this video, it's this. Muscle loss is not inevitable, even in your 70s or 80s. It's often the result of missing the right signal at the right time, in the right form. Sometimes the difference between feeling weak and feeling capable again is as simple as upgrading a habit you already have. A warm cup of coffee, a scoop of the right protein, a few gentle movements during the week. Nothing dramatic, just consistent. If this video helped you see your body and your strength in a new light, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a like. It helps this message reach others who may be feeling the same quiet frustrations you once felt. And if you know someone, a spouse, a parent, a friend, who's been saying, I just don't feel as strong anymore, please share this video with them. Sometimes one simple idea at the right moment can change everything. I'd also love to hear from you. Have you noticed changes in your strength over the years? Have you tried adding protein to your morning routine? Leave a comment below. I read them, and they help guide future videos. And finally, if you want more honest, science-based conversations about aging well, staying strong, and living with confidence as the years move forward, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I'm glad you spent this time with me today. Take care of your body. It's carried you a long way already.